Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was murdered, dismembered, and his body put into 5 suitcases. That is the latest information on this murder, published in the pro-government Turkish newspaper, the JD'ASYFK. It says the suitcases were then driven to the Saudi Consul General's residence near the consulate where Khashoggi was killed on October 2nd. According to Turkey, the murder was carried out by the 15-member Saudi hit squad. Some of the suspects have close ties to the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And in the last few hours, the US Secretary of State has reiterated its plans to hold people responsible for the killings. Also, remember, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said he believes the order to kill Khashoggi came from the highest levels of the Saudi government. All right, here's our team covering events at the moment. Hashim Al-Bara in outside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. We will be with you shortly. We're starting, though, with Shihab Ratanzi in Washington, D.C. More on those comments from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
Yes, it was a restatement of the administration line that we've heard several times before. Mike Pompeo appearing on several of the Sunday political talk shows saying, look, yes, we're interested in accountability, but almost in the same breath, constantly emphasizing just how important Saudi Arabia is to the Trump administration's foreign policy goals.
The Saudis have acknowledged that this was a premeditated attack. The facts that we're finding still are unfolding. We're still working diligently on that. We talk with folks from Turkey, from Saudi Arabia nearly every day to continue those efforts. We've begun to hold some officials accountable. We've revoked visas from 16 individuals that we have been able to identify so far that were in fact connected to that. We'll continue to do that. And as I said that day when I returned, we will hold all of those responsible for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi accountable. And we will do that, Chris, at the same time while ensuring that the strategic relationship between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, one that has a great impact on the issue we just spoke about, the capacity to deny the world's largest state sponsor of terror, the ability to threaten America and Israel, we will continue to work to maintain that important strategic relationship while holding accountable those responsible for this atrocious death.
Which makes you wonder, Shihab, what holding accountable means when he is so clear about keeping the tight relationship with Saudi Arabia.
Right, and we've had several reports in recent days that, yes, there was a wish to go to the highest levels of the Saudi administration, but various ideas were batted around. For example, trying to get King Salman to dilute the powers of the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, for example. But these have now all been rejected as unworkable, impossible in an absolutist monarchy. And that strategic relationship has to come first, particularly at a time when the new round of Iranian sanctions are about to kick in. On Monday, the US is globally isolated on that particular issue, for example. So accountability, it would seem, from what we hear, means the congressional and administration process that's already underway. Congress asked the administration under the Magnitsky Act to begin an investigation into the Khashoggi murder. The White House and the administration will now have to come back with whom it deems responsible. Sanctions will then probably be instituted by Congress on those people. That's probably about it. In the meantime, there is some talk, some chatter we've heard in D.C. Well, maybe this means Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, driving Saudi policy is somehow damaged, so maybe we have more leverage over him as regards the war in Yemen or the blockade of Qatar, though still it's unclear as to how far the White House would ever go to really pressure Saudi Arabia. Congress, meanwhile, there is some energy on Yemen and on weapons sales, arms sales. If the Democrats do particularly well on Tuesday, perhaps we'll see more movement there. But as far as the administration concerned, is the picture that we're getting is, look, they just want all of this to go away.
Shihab Ratanzi in Washington, thank you. And in Istanbul, of course, Hashim Al-Bara. Hashim, take us through all this new information that's come out on Sunday. Some of it pretty unpleasant to hear.
Kamal, new information is emerging, giving us more details about the final moments of Jamal Khashoggi. We know from Turkish security sources that the moment Jamal Khashoggi's body was dismembered, 3 key players in the death squad were scrambling to get hold of his mobile phone, and there was some agitation inside the Saudi consulate that you can see behind me, everyone trying to look for the mobile phone of Jamal al-Khashoggi. Maybe they were looking for crucial information, but we know also at the same time that over the last 2 years, Saudi Arabian government was very concerned about the outspoken Saudi critics who sought exile in different parts of the world, and they were trying to convince them to come back home. Sometimes they were arresting some of their family members in Riyadh to be able to force them to travel back. Now, what the Saudi death squad did not know was that before he got into the building, Jamal Khashoggi handed over 2 mobile phones to his fiancée, Khadija Cengiz. And when the Saudi prosecutor, Saud al-Majib, was here in Turkey talking to the Turkish investigators about cooperation, he asked specifically about that mobile phone of Jamal Khashoggi, a request which was denied by the Turkish government.
Hashim, this sort of news coming out through the media, of course, as well as the pressure we see coming from President Erdogan as well on Saudi Arabia, do you think it's actually making any sort of difference at the moment?
Well, Kamal, as you know, Turkey knows a great deal of information about the final moments of Jamal Khashoggi. They seem to be very confident, they have tape, they know exactly what happened, and they know about some of the phone call conversations between the different members of the death squad. Now they're waiting for more clarity about the whereabouts of the remains of the body. Daily Sabah is saying that the body was dismembered here and then taken in 5 suitcases to this Saudi consul's residence, where it was destroyed. The reason why they are now going on the offensive against the Saudi government is for the Saudi government to give them more details about the remains. And this is why now, over the last 72 hours, we've seen the Turkish president, the Minister of Justice, and senior members of the ruling party putting more pressure on King Salman bin Abdulaziz himself, saying that this is the man who should tell the world who gave the order to kill Jamal Khashoggi and the whereabouts of his remains. There's going to be this crucial meeting between President Trump and President Erdogan in Paris on the 10th of November. And I think, against the backdrop of that meeting, we would be able to gauge a sense of the next step by the Turkish government.
Thank you. Hashim Ahlbara in Istanbul.